and welcome to our special edition dedicated to Azerbaijan Arbitration Days 2025. Today we are honored to have with us a very distinguished guest, Professor Michel, former Prime Minister of Belgium and former President of the European Council. Mr. Michel, welcome to Baku and our program One-on-One. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Mr. Michel, as a former President of the European Council, you have always emphasized the importance of transparency and trust in global legal systems. How do you see international arbitration mechanisms contributing to stronger investor confidence and economic development worldwide?
You know, I'm absolutely convinced that arbitration mechanisms are fundamental, especially in the current geopolitical context. It's very important to strengthen more initiatives for more trust, for more confidence at the international level. And international arbitration is a quiet way to resolve disputes. It's a quiet way to show respect, to show transparency, to show effectiveness. And I think that's a very powerful tool for more political and geopolitical stability, because it means if we use this tool that we will reinforce the global confidence.
Baku is rapidly emerging as a key hub along the Middle Corridor, connecting Europe and Asia. In your view, how can arbitration play a role in strengthening stability, cooperation and trust across this growing trade route?
I'm absolutely convinced that Azerbaijan, but more broadly the Caucasus and Central Asia, are very important regions in terms of investments, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of connectivity. And there are challenges related to the need to improve the connectivity across all the region. And I'm absolutely convinced that that's very consistent to inaugurate today this Baku International Centre, and in parallel to work actively to develop more cooperation in the region, to work actively to mobilize the private sector as an important player, important actor for more growth, for more prosperity in the country, but more broadly in the region. And absolutely convinced that in the future we need bolder partnerships between the EU and the countries in that region. I've tried in my previous capacity to play a positive role and to be a bridge, in fact, between those countries, including Azerbaijan and the European Union. And I'm confident because I can see that in recent months we have observed a lot of progress.
We are witnessing an increasing number of legal disputes in the field of clean energy and green transition. From your perspective, how is arbitration evolving to address the complex challenges of renewable energy projects and sustainability agreements?
You know, that's not a surprise if there are more economic projects, if there are more investments. Of course, there are more disputes. But what is important, that's the fact that it's possible to offer some tools, some mechanisms to resolve those disputes in a moderate way, in a reasonable way, with rationality, and making sure that those disputes, those legal disputes, do not escalate in a political conflict or in a political crisis or in a diplomatic crisis. In fact, I think that there are a lot of geopolitical and diplomatic challenges, and that's why it's so important through international arbitration and international arbitration working with respect for the national and international institutions. That's very important that those tools are there to reassure the investors and to make clear to the investors that if they believe in a country, if they believe in a project, if they are ready to take risks and to mobilize money, in case a dispute would appear, this dispute can be settled in a fair way.
The establishment of the Baku Arbitration Centre marks a new chapter in Azerbaijan's legal and institutional development. In your opinion, what should be the main priorities for Baku to become a trusted and internationally recognized arbitration hub?
I have the impression that there are vast opportunities to develop this Baku Arbitration Centre, and what is very important, that's the support and the assistance by the statute and by the judicial institutions, because in fact we need a consistent approach. There is a space and a natural role for international arbitration on the one hand, but there is also a major role that's played by the national courts, and this interaction will be, I have no doubt, a very important factor to make sure that there will be trust in international arbitration through this Baku International Arbitration Centre. That's my first point. And on top, because we understand very well the need in that region for more cross-border investments. On top, I hope and I think that other countries in the region and the private operators coming from other countries in that region and maybe beyond will trust this centre, and it will be an additional argument to invest in Caucasus, in Azerbaijan, and probably as well in Central Asia.
Having been at the center of European diplomacy and integration, how do you view legal cooperation, particularly arbitration as a tool to promote mutual trust, dialogue, and culture of peace between nations?
Yeah, you know, what is extremely important in the field of international arbitration is consent, is the idea that two parties, even if they have a dispute, they consent and they agree on the way this dispute can be resolved. And that's a very important element that we have to take into account. At the national level, there are various national traditions in the field of justice, in the field of the jurisdictions, and we have to show respect for those national realities and national approaches. But we can see in the field of international investment, in the field of international trade, that there is a risk of mistrust. And that's why international arbitration is offering a safe space, a serene space, because the parties, they have the possibility to choose judges with the relevant expertise, arbitrators with the relevant expertise. They can even decide on the procedures, and it's a very powerful signal of trust. And it's not against the national jurisdictions. It is working in parallel, and international arbitration needs the assistance and a certain form of support of the national jurisdiction to be effective.
Mr. Michel, when you first met President Ilham Aliyev some years ago, did you foresee that peace might one day return to the Caucasus and that you would be personally contribute to that process? How do you evaluate the current state of the peace efforts in the region?
Look, you know that I've tried to do my best in my previous positions to facilitate some talks between Azerbaijan and Armenia. I had the occasion to work closely with President Aliyev, but also with Prime Minister Pashinyan. And I remember that at that time I was not underestimating the magnitude of the challenges, the magnitude of the difficulties. And we have really tried by being innovative, by being helpful, by being respectful, to make some suggestions and some proposals to help this normalization and to help this and to support this peace process. And today I'm very pleased and even confident, because I'm observing that progress are achieved. That's very important, and my wish is that in the weeks to come, in the months to come, even more efforts can be done so that this peace process will be a sustainable framework, a sustainable approach. And that's also an important condition to develop more regional cooperation for the benefit of all the countries and the people in that region, including in Azerbaijan.
Mr. Michel, thank you for your taking time. Dear viewer, that concludes our special interview with Professor Charles Michel as part of the Azerbaijan Arbitration Days 2025. Stay with us for more coverage from Baku. Goodbye.